So I put together a web form that I linked to above to take your questions about graduate school because I wanted to be sure to incorporate all of the questions that you had into the seminar that I'm putting together, and I thought that I would answer some of them here on Facebook as well. And I've gotten lots of great questions through that form. Please feel free to submit yours if you have questions. But this is a great question right here, and it says this. It says, can I still go to graduate school even if I don't have good grades? And this is an excellent question. Thank you so much for submitting it. The answer that I have for you is yes, and I'm going to talk to you about how to do it. And even if you do have good grades, the technique and the method that I'm going to be teaching right now is going to increase your odds of getting into graduate school dramatically. Because even if you do have good grades, there are a lot of people who have good grades, and they all want to go to graduate school as well. So this is how you make yourself stand out. So the key to graduate school, and also many times graduate school admissions, is that relationships are critical in graduate school. This is different than in undergrad. Because in undergrad, you apply to the institution, and then you've got a list of courses that you've got to take, and you choose some, and then you take the courses, and then you get your degree. Maybe you have like an advisor in the counseling center or something like that. But in graduate school, your advisor is a professor in the department that is going to oversee your education and your research from basically the start of your program all the way to the conclusion. Now, if you're doing something like a master's degree, you don't have to come in with an advisor already selected. You will find an advisor, you can find an advisor during the opening semester of your graduate program. But the people who do graduate school most effectively are often the people who come in, even as a master's student, on that first day with an advisor selected. And this is what I'm talking about, building relationships. So when you're thinking about going to graduate school, don't think about it just as you're going to do some more coursework. You will, but that's not the major part of it. You're going to have your advisor you're building a relationship with, and you're going to be doing your research project. So sure, think about institutions that you would like to go to, think about departments that you want to go to and degrees you might like to get, but you also need to think about individual professors, so research individual professors that are in the area that you want to get into, who are doing the kinds of research that you want to do, and who have the kind of skills that you want to learn, and then reach out to them and start to develop a relationship with those people. So if you're an undergrad, it often, the fall semester of your senior year, early on is when you want to start doing this. And I'll put out the entire timeline in the seminar. But that's not too early to start trying to identify people that you might like to work with. And then you're going to reach out to them through email, introduce yourself, say that you're interested in them, show that you know something about their research and what they do, and explain why that you're thinking about going to graduate school and might be interested in working with them, and ask them about that. And if you can go to a conference that they're going to be going to and be able to go meet them, maybe have coffee, something like that, that's also fantastic. It's always great to meet with these people in person. So you're going to start building these relationships here. And then, but having those relationships isn't going to stop you from having to submit your formal application. So your application is probably going to contain your GRE scores. That's the standardized test for graduate studies, your transcripts, your essays, and all of that. Each department is going to have a graduate admissions committee that is going to evaluate all of the applications and decide who gets admitted to the graduate program. They may have a whole bunch of applications and not very many graduate slots. For instance, they may be interested in accepting 6 to 8 graduate students into their program in 1 year, and they might have 200 applications. So let me tell you that the members of the Graduate Admissions Committee are going to be looking for reasons not to go through your entire application, because there are tons of applications, time is short, they're going to be looking for reasons to not consider your application. The first thing that they're going to look at is whether or not you've completed everything that they've asked. Is your application complete? They might have 200 open applications. They might find that 40 of those did not submit something that was asked for, whether a test score, a transcript, or an essay or something like that. Make sure that your application is complete, because obviously if it's open but it hasn't been completed, they're not going to look at it. That's the first thing. The second thing is going to be something like a test score, like the GRE score. It's very easy to say, well, we only accept students with a certain GRE score and sort all of the people who submitted an application by GRE score. If you don't make that cut, you're not considered. Also, grades is another very easy way to sort a whole bunch of applications and decide, okay, these people are not going to make it in. So if you have, say, we're only going to be taking people with a certain GPA, you sort everyone by that GPA, and then you drop everyone below that. So that's when you say, well, if I don't have good grades, how am I going to make that cut? Because they're just going to be sorting and I'm not going to get looked at. This is where that relationship that you start to build becomes extremely important, because there's going to be a line on your graduate application committee, probably, that says, do you have an advisor? Or do you have someone you would like to work with in this department? Most people are probably going to leave that blank and just try to find an advisor, if they're admitted, in about the first semester or something. But if you've already reached out to somebody, if you already have a potential advisor, then you write that person's name there, and then that person is going to get signaled that your application is arrived and complete. And I guarantee you that that person is going to get that regardless of whatever your scores are or whatever your grades are. They're going to say, oh, hey, this person says that they wanted to work with you. Here's their application. What do you think? The department really wants to have graduate students in it that the professors want to work with. And so if there's a professor who really wants to work with you and really wants to supervise your graduate studies, then that's going to basically trump everything else that you submit. You have to have the completed application, but you can make up for a lot of different, perhaps problem areas, maybe a lower GRE score than they might like, a lower GPA than you might like, if you developed a really good relationship with a professor who wants to work with you. They'll say, yes, I'll take it. If they say, yes, I do really want to work with that person, you're probably going to get an invite to study at that department with that professor. So let's say that you do have lower grades or you do have a lower GRE score. Bring that up with the professor that you're talking to. Now, not first thing, don't do that, but you may want to mention, if you're doing an email chain with the person after, on the second or third email, say that, well, I do have, my GPA is lower than I would have liked. And explain why. And bring that up and say, you know what, maybe when I was a freshman and a sophomore, I really didn't take college very seriously, and I goofed off, I partied, and my grades are low. So please don't, but that's not who I am now. Please don't look at those grades and think that is that's who I am now. Please take a look at my GPA from just my senior year, or my senior year and my junior year, or my grades in the classes that are most relevant to the area that you're in, perhaps the classes in my major. Look at how I'm doing there. People are not going to hold that against you. If you've developed, as everyone does, over the course of your undergrad, you really want to go to graduate school, you've shown that you were going to be a good graduate student, you've developed a relationship with somebody, that person is not going to throw you out or not let you come just because, hey, when you were 18 or 19, you goofed off a couple of semesters and hurt your GPA. As long as the person you are now is the kind of person who would be an excellent graduate student, and that person knows that, like an advisor knows that and wants to work with you, then you're going to be admitted. But having that relationship is key there, because otherwise, if nobody knows you, nobody's talked to you, nobody is interested in you, then you may get caught up in just that sort where everybody's, oh, it did not have the cut as far as the grades go, or as far as the GRE goes, or something like that. This is also critical if you do have good grades, because like I said, most people are going to leave that blank. When they say, do you have an advisor, have you talked to somebody, most people aren't going to put that in there. But even when the graduate admissions committee gets to the people they're going to have to look at, everybody who has got complete applications, everybody who has made the GPA cut, and everybody who has made the standardized test cut, and whatever easy ways it is to eliminate people, there's still going to be a lot of people whose essays they're going to have to read, and who they're going to have to make judgment calls based on just the submitted materials. So there are a lot of people with good grades and a lot of people who are going to make that cut. So how do you make yourself stand out, even if you do have good grades, among everybody else who has good grades? And you make yourself stand out by having this relationship with some professor there who is interested in having you study with them, who you're interested in studying with, and who you can write down, yes, I have. I've already talked with Professor whoever it is. We've had an excellent dialogue, and I'm interested in studying with him or her, and she or he is interested in having me. Will you please forward my application to that person? So if you have excellent grades and high scores and all of that, and you're trying to compete with other people with excellent grades and high scores and all of that, how do you make yourself stand out? It's that personal relationship again. The personal relationships are critical in graduate studies. Thank you so much for that question. I hope that that answered it for you, and we learned something about graduate school, regardless of whether you have good grades or grades that need improvement. So I'm going to do another video like this. So if you have any questions, please go to the link above and submit them. I would love to check them out so I can incorporate them into the seminar. Look for the seminar to be released online. It's going to be an online video seminar toward the end of this month. Please submit the questions through the link. Also, please, if you have comments or questions or anything you'd like to talk about, please go ahead and post those down below. I would love to talk with you, and I'd love to make your question the topic of the next video, because I am anticipating doing another video like this, talking about another one of your questions here in another few days, and release that just a few days before the seminar goes live. So if you have questions, please go to the link, enter the comments down below. I would love to talk with you. It's been great. I will look forward to talking to you in the comments section and seeing you in the next video. And in the meantime, I hope you're all doing great things in geography and GIS.